Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. I know it's late. Obviously, there was boxing from Friday to Sunday this week. And I felt it was only right to kind of watch everything, or at least try to get through everything in its totality before doing the weekend wrap. I didn't succeed in that task. There is a lot of fights I haven't seen from several cards. I've not watched anything other than the main event of Natasha Jonas Ivana Habazin, and I've seen half of the Lauren Price and Bexy Matias fight, even though I think it ended in the third round. Third round TKO stoppage or whatever. I haven't seen Stephen McKenna and Lee Cutler, but I do know that I think Lee Cutler won by majority decision or split decision, one or the other. So I got that wrong. I did think that McKenna would get that stoppage down the back stretch of that fight, but Mark Jeffers, I haven't seen that fight either. I haven't seen the Vidal Riley fight, but I do know that Vidal Riley won. So yeah, that's everything kind of from there. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Shout out to obviously everyone that was at the Origins New Dawn card from Friday at York Hall. Obviously Denzel Bentley was on was doing punditry in the sort of as the presenters. I know Conor Ben was there as well. Crazy time. I was actually at one point sitting like literally one person away from Conor, front row, at ringside. Just think to yourself, okay, we're here now. Yeah, York was always a fun place to be. Shout out to obviously Julia Lee, Shannon Ryan, Maisie Rose Courtney, the interviews of which I did put up on the channel. My Shannon Ryan interview, unfortunately, something happened with the sound, so you can hear parts, but not other parts of it. I think I had about a minute 45 seconds of salvageable content, so I literally just uploaded that minute 45 onto TikTok, and yeah, just kind of left it there. But I'm sure there will be more opportunities to do another interview in the future. Always gracious with time, so thank you to those who did give their time. But if you haven't checked the others, yeah, please check those other two interviews out. They were very, very fun, very infectious, and yeah, it was just a good time. George Liddard, I don't know why I said Tom in the basis picks video, but yeah, George Liddard got a 1-round stoppage. Jimmy Sains, I think, got a stoppage in the third. I think it was the third or the fourth round. You know, it was a lot of A-side heavy fights. There was no real 50-50s or no very competitive fights on the card, but it was just a good time to be had, to, you know, to kind of leave it there. I was up at Harrow Leisure Centre for a Nielsen boxing card on Saturday, looking at the debut of new cruiserweight Lucas Rohrig, who is trained and managed currently by George Groves. He faced Joe McIntyre for, yeah, it was his debut. It was a 6-rounder. Brilliant performance by Lucas. Brilliant jab. Kept distance. Footwork was immaculate. It reminded me just of watching the Jaya Pataya spar. Definitely has got talent, definitely can go, you know, sort of can go far if he sticks on the right track. Won the fight. After 3 rounds, Joe McIntyre retired on his stool after the end of the third, didn't come out for the fourth. So brilliant, yeah, brilliant debut. I was supposed to do an interview afterwards. I think he went to go and say hey to a couple people, and then next moment he kind of disappeared. I had to then disappear, so that kind of didn't go how it needed to go. But yeah, we'll link up and do something at some point. So then let's kind of just talk about, look, Tasha Jonas Ivana Habazin. It kind of played out the same way I thought it would, where I said that Natasha would do, basically will kind of rack up the early rounds and then Ivana might come into it a bit more down the back stretch. But Natasha will still just, either nick a couple or just still win some rounds towards the end. And I thought it would be maybe a 97, 93 type card. Where it's a very, very clear victory for Natasha, but where she maybe has to work a little. She made it even easier than that, to be honest. Ivana didn't really get into the fight, to be fair. I mean, I still think there's maybe 2-3 rounds you could give her. I know the scorecards was like 98, 92, 99, 91, and 100 to 90. Can't really argue with any of them, to be honest. I know her and Lauren Price had this big, so I guess back and forth in the ring afterwards, dual interview. Wasn't really paying much attention as I was, commuting back down to southeast London at that particular point. But it's only sort of after that where I then sort of got a chance to look at some of the Monte Carlo card. I watched Gary Cully and Maxi Hughes. Now, if you guys remember, I did say everything tell me that Maxi Hughes should win this fight and win this fight quite well, but I just felt like there was a bit more investment in Gary Cully, so I figured that he may get a very disputed victory. I'm glad I got that one wrong. That didn't happen. It was quite a sound, clear and conclusive beating that Maxi Hughes put on Gary Cully. And I don't know, Gary Cully at 135, I think he needs to move up to not even 140. I think he needs to go to 147. Like, you're 6'2". There's no reason to be shrinking down all the way to 135 pounds. I'm pretty sure you've got enough of a frame that you can fill out and become a very solid welterweight contender. And I would even assume that the punch resistance, everything, stamina, everything would, I reckon, would just be better. Like, at 135, it comes across as weight bullying, but now it seems to be like you've just done so much irreparable damage to yourself. You'll never be anything significant there. I wouldn't even, like I said, I wouldn't even go 140. I'd go 147 and kind of just campaign there moving forward. But yeah, Tara Moana, first round KO of Katsuk. Not really much to take from it, but very fun. It was someone that I've looking forward to, and obviously I've been anticipating seeing again since the Olympics. I think their whole goal is to give him 8 fights. I think next year they want to box him like 8 times, just in different locations around the world. So we've got Monte Carlo. I'm sure he'll be on one of the London cards at some point. Then if they get to do Australia card, and it will be on an Americas card. And probably for the next year, the quality of opposition is not going to be anything substantial. But then maybe towards the back end of the year is when they maybe step it up a little bit and then start going to sort of those fringe contenders, or sort of that fringe top 25 set of people, before 2026 moving into those real sort of that real contendership status, looking at like top 20, top 15, and then getting rankings in the governing bodies. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what happens there. Beatrice Ferreira against Badersi. Was it Licia Badersi or Badersa? Sorry, that was a comprehensive beating. I'm surprised that Badersa wasn't actually pulled out from the corner. Obviously, I guess by the time it got to the 9th round, they thought, well, give her one more at least, then she can carry on head held high that she made it through. But she all could have been pulled out of the fight from maybe the 7th. She was taking the beating. I don't think she won any rounds, was barely throwing anything, didn't have any power to deter Beatrice, was just getting caught with brutal body shots, like overhand rights, right uppercuts, left hooks. It was, and left straights as well. Just wasn't really necessary for her to be in there taking the punishment, even though she was there smiling and everything. But I guess toughness, she's got the toughness, I'll give her that. But yeah, I really like watching Beatrice Ferreira. As much as she sometimes does feel like she's undersized to be at 135, the power is enough that she can compete up there. She's quick, she's nimble. She is getting up there in age. She called out the champions after the fight. Said, "Look, I want the rest of the belts. If you've got a belt, like, you're on the hit list." They're looking at that Terry Harper fight as the next fight, and I guess if everything plays out between Caroline Dubois and Jessica Kamara to the point where Caroline Dubois will get elevated to the WBA champion as well when Katie Taylor vacates that, then it looks like it will potentially be a 2-belt apiece unification, which would be a very, very interesting fight. I guess we've got to wait and see what happens with the unification between Terry Harper and Beatrice Ferreira. I don't know if Steffi Bull's going to take that fight. I think if he does, he kind of knows what the play is, or what the intended outcome is to be via Matchroom. But it would be a good payday. So let's wait and see what kind of happens with that. Then we had probably fight of the night overall, which was Chev Clarke versus Mosquera. I can't remember Mosquera's first name, which is very poor taste on my part. But yeah, good fight. I mean, fight started nightmare scenario for Chev Clarke, getting caught very early, high on the head. Took a bit of a pace in the first round, went down, suffered a 10-8 round. And then the rest of the fight, it was almost like he was fighting upstream, fighting a closing tide. And it's weird because I actually watched it when I was kind of just seeing it as I was driving home. I was kind of listening, like checking it intermittently. It very much looked like Chev was pretty much winning a lot of those rounds after that first round. I watched the fight a little bit earlier on, and funny enough, I actually scored the fight 114, a draw. Now, within that scorecard, there was some very, very close rounds where I was like, should I give it to this person or should I give it to that one? And I was literally just trying to do it on merit of the specific round, which was sometimes it was very hard. But just to kind of give you a quick insight of how I scored the fight. So obviously 8-10 to Mosquera in the first round, 9-10 Mosquera second, 10-9 to Chev in the third, 9-10 to Mosquera in the fourth, 10-9 to Chev Clarke in the fifth, 10-9 to Chev Clarke in the sixth, 10-9 to Chev Clarke in the seventh. But I thought the seventh was a close round. 10-10 in the eighth. I couldn't split them. I haven't even watched it back to say who I think I might lean to, but neither guy did much in that round. But I didn't think any guy clearly won it. So yeah, 10-10 in the eighth. The ninth, I gave 10-9 to Chev Clarke. The 10th, I gave 10-9 to Chev Clarke as well. But the 11th and 12th, I gave 9-10 both to Mosquera. And again, I thought the 10th was a very close round. I thought the 11th was a very close round. And the 12th, I thought, was a close round. Not as close as those two. But yeah, so, and ultimately my scorecard ended up 114. But having said that, if I gave all the close rounds to Mosquera, then yeah, he would have won the fight. I think 116, 111. But if I'd given all the close rounds to Chev Clarke, I think he would have won the fight like 117, 110, or something along those lines, based on the rounds that I had that was close. So split decision. Obviously Chev Clarke lost. It's not a bad defeat, to be honest. It's a defeat at, that upper European level. It's for the vacant European title. I'm sure he's going to want to run that one back. Got caught cold in the first round. It wasn't a prospect getting an upset loss to, to maybe like a, just a random kind of thing. It was a decent level fight. I'm sure Chev can come again. And personally, even though, like, obviously I scored it a draw, I did score more rounds for Clarke, and there was times I feel like I was being generous giving Mosquera a round. A lot of the times when he was throwing punches, like Chev was actually blocking them, or they weren't landing, they weren't scoring shots. But I was trying to give some grace for ring generalship, like an overall aggression and busy, and sort of trying to be the not the busier, but like the sort of, I guess, the more aggressive and the more impactful. Even though what they say, active defense is no longer a scoring criteria, so it's a bit difficult. It's one of those fights. Yeah, you could have scored it either way. Mosquera probably on the balance did just about enough, but Chef Clarke hard done by, unlucky, but definitely will come again. And then the main event, MJ Akhmadaliev, third round KO of Espinoza. It was a pretty routine performance. It was quite good. It was a very, very good performance, to be totally honest with you. I thought he would be a little bit rustier, considering he's basically only fought like twice in the last 2.5, 3 years, which is mostly his fault. He should have been more active. Maybe Eddie also should have been more active rather than waiting on the Inoue fight. Bearing in mind that even though he is a mandatory for Inoue, he's not actually the next mandatory. They've done a very good job at, I guess, fooling the people to believe that he's being avoided. Even though, yeah, the WBA did call their mandatory first, they weren't the next ones in the queue of the mandatory. It went WBC, IBF, WBA, and then WBO. So the WBO one is the one that they're awaiting now, which is the Sam Goodman. Sorry, I think that's the IBF mandatory, or is that the WBO? It might be the WBO. It's one of them. But then the WBA is basically the next one after that. And then yes, the IBF, WBA, WBO is the last one. So yeah, if obviously they do the Sam Goodman fight and then they don't pick Inoue after that, all right, and Inoue doesn't pick MJ, then you can say that okay, he's ducking. But right now it's not a duck. It's just they're trying to, like I said, they're trying to hoodwink the public to not know exactly what's going on, to just make it seem like, but it's a good marketing tactic to get MJ's name out there. And I'm not really mad at it. I think Inoue even put out a post the other day, basically like rubbishing the fact that he would quote unquote be ducking MJ after he lost to Tapales. Is like, and then he beat Tapales. Like, why would I duck you when I beat the guy that beat you, kind of thing. All's well. I haven't watched any of the Golden Boy card, so I actually don't. I know that Raul Curiel, and Alexis Rocha drew. I don't know how it happened. Can't really comment on it. I know I believe Conwell won, but I haven't seen any of the results. I'm going to have to check that out in a little bit. But the main talking point has got to be Jaime Munguia with a stunning upset loss. 6th round KO, one punch KO from Bruno Soares from France. Soares, who prior to that fight, he was 25-0-2. He had 4 KOs on his record. Is very similar to Curiel when he KO'd Nonshinga, and no one saw it coming because he had like 4 KOs on his record in 25 wins. Well, yeah, but Soares, that he got knocked down in the 2nd round. You thought, oh, it's just a matter of time before Jaime Munguia gets him out of there. But boom, that right hand off the ropes, like put him down out cold. He managed to just about get up on the 9 count, but he was stumbling, wobbling all over the place. Referee did the right thing to wave it off. But I mean, now you got to look at, okay, so he was with Freddie Roach, and he looked probably the best that he'd looked in a long time. He's gone back to now, who is it, Eric Morales, and all of a sudden he is not looking the same as he had been looking in his last few fights. I don't know. Did he just not take things correctly? Is he, is the fact that he's had 4 fights this year, is his punch resistance down? Is it a fact that now maybe he's fighting people outside of the protection of Golden Boy, that, the deficiencies and the frailties are showing up? Who knows? It could be a myriad of things, but I want to reserve judgment on that until he comes back and see how he looks in his next fight. But yeah, it's just a damning indictment that a guy, again, with 4 KOs, like, knocks you out cold in your hometown. Like, whereas Canelo dropped you, and although, to be fair, we did see that Canelo held him up a couple of times in that fight, that he carried him to the finish line. I don't think there was times you could tell that if he wanted to step on the gas, he could have. But look, I guess we got to see where Jaime Munguia goes from here. And if, like I said, if this isn't an indictment on the fact that Golden Boy Promotions, quote unquote, do protect their fighters, or don't put their fighters in, quote unquote, hard or competitive fights until they're at a world title level, I think this is kind of where you see it, because Race wasn't even supposed to be a quote unquote hard fight, and look at the big upset that's happened there. Something like that very, very, very rarely would have happened on a Golden Boy card. But now you're at Top Rank, you got to fight proper people, and these are the kind of things that can happen. So let's see how he rebounds off of that. And last but not least, Dillian Whyte. I literally just watched that fight a couple hours ago, 2-3 hours ago. The fact that Tete took him to 7 rounds, obviously to the end of 7 rounds, and then the corner pulled him out on the stool, you could say it doesn't look great, especially if you're looking to be back in the mix with, sort of that the best guys in and around the division. Yeah, the whole I need rounds thing. Okay, yep, you do need rounds, but rounds against Tete isn't the way you kind of need to be. If you're going 7 rounds with Tete, hard rounds, like at a pace, having to be very, very careful about what's coming back at you at times, that doesn't land you in good stead when you're getting ready to take on the other guys, the top 10, the top 15 in the division. Yes, I mean, there's a possibility you could have potentially given Tete the first round. But generally speaking, I do think, Whyte pretty much was winning most stuff in there. But yeah, just Tete got some pretty decent punch resistance compared to what I thought. Yeah, I mean, look, Daniel Dubois clearly, had the right game plan. Rush him early, catch him, exchange with him on the exchange, and we see what happened. But after watching that fight, I can't lie, I wouldn't mind seeing Tete fight some of the the English level guys that we've got now. If they want, you need a fight back for someone like a Fraser Clarke in his comeback, if he is in fact coming back. Maybe a Sol Dacus, a David Adley. Who else? Johnny Fisher. Would be interesting to see how these lot do with a Tete, and if they get it done a lot quicker than the 7th round, then yeah, I think that shows us kind of where Dillian really is at this point. But that also being said, I'm happy he's back, a bit more active than he has been. I'm hoping that he can get out maybe one more time early next year, and then potentially look to some big fights towards the back end of the year. Hopefully, if he can get in like 2 or 3 fights next year, whether 2 small ones and like a big fight, or maybe even 2 big fights and a small small run out, whatever it may be, let him end 2025 in the right way, and that's what I'm hoping for Dillian. But look, that's pretty much all I can think to talk about. Obviously, we've got Fury Usyk coming up this weekend. It's going to be a very interesting... Wait, did I say no? Let me rephrase that. We've got Usyk Fury coming up. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a couple videos just around that, live streams regarding that as well. the basis picks. I think there's going to be 2 separate videos, one for the undercard, one for the main event. But I'm sure you guys know what most of my predictions are going to be for this card. And to be honest, I'm not very enthused with the card as a whole. There's only about 2 fights that I even care to watch. But we will be doing the live watch along, probably starting from about 8:30. But I'll let you guys know about that nearer the time. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Appreciate it. This is a day later than normal, but yeah, ride with me and it's appreciated. But until the next one, peace.